Hey everyone who is watching this tutorial. In my last video, I did not explain something very well, and I wanted to go over that aspect a little bit more in detail. The aspect that I was referring to is when the non-square letters, such as the O or R or the Q or something that has a roundness, I had to bring it down, and I did not explain it very well. So I'm going to create this quick example of how it works. So right now I have the transform geometry node. I have a set position node. I'm using a multiply node with the z to a -1. I'm using the attribute statistic node set to vector, and the attribute that I'm reading is the position, because I want to read the position of these points relative to the origin of this object. And the points attribute that I want to read is the minimum. I want to see what the value is below the origin. So that means I'm going to use the minimum value. And that minimum value is a vector, so it's 3 digits, 3 values, x, y, and z. And this with this multiply node, that's a vector multiply. If I set the x and y to 0, it cancels out the values. So like say 5 times 0 is 0, for example. But if I affect the z component of the vector by -1, it creates a positive value. So for example here, before I feed this into here, I want this object to be on this red line here. I know this cube is 2 by 2 by 2. So if I move it up by 1, we get this value. I'm going to not do it on this part right here. I'm going to do it right here on this set position. So I've set that to 1. We get 1. And then I'm going to use a viewer node so I can kind of show you what we're getting at. So I'm going to feed that into there. And then I'm going to go Control Shift left click. And then I'm going to view this minimum. So you can see the minimum on the z is -1. And you can see when I multiply that -1 by -1 on that z component, we get 1. And that's what we raise this cube up by 1, or all the points at the same time by 1 meter. So if I undo that, you can see -1 times -1 equals 1, which equals this one value that we need to bring this cube up, or all the points up at the same time. And I can show you when I rotate this along the y, say 45, you can see it's on the negative below the origin, -1.41 something. Now we have -0.14. So if we go and change this to positive, So if we go, and if we move that up to the minus 1.4 value, thereabouts, it's in the same spot. So when I rotate, it's always going to move that object, all the points up, so it aligns with that floor. I can always create a little floor, Shift A, mesh, plane, scale it up, uncheck the origins, scale it up. Now you can see with this object here, when I rotate it, it's always going to be on that floor. And it's relative to this object's origin. So if I move it up, this object up here, it's going to always rotate and move up accordingly to the origin of that object. This attribute statistic node is very handy for reading information on the various aspects of points. For example, if I use the max value, I have to set this to 1. So it is rotating once again on the relative origin of this object here. I hope this explains this aspect a little bit better. Thank you.